Al. How's it going? Good morning. Let me get the music going really quick. So we're not just sitting here in silence. Okay. There's the music. And yeah, here we go. Picking up on the Puru again. After we started retopologizing him last time. So I think today, yeah, I'm just going to kind of see where it takes me. I'm just going to add details and stuff wherever we need it to be. And we're just going to keep on moving through this low poly mesh. Hopefully we'll get to see some significant development today. I'm pretty sure we will. I think what I'm going to do, still got some work to do on the face, and we got a lot of stuff to do on the hands. So I'm going to try to establish the hands before I get too far with the rest of the body, because that's pretty important. And I want to make sure I'm representing everything before I get too far along, because then I'll start having like lots of polygons to start moving around, and it's not really fun when I do that. Hey, how's it going? Leak, good morning. Rumble, hey, how's it going? Select loops. How's your week been? How's everyone's week been? I hope it's been okay. Let's see. Jared, is that right? Yeah. Hi, Jared. How's it going? Okay, let's see how we're going to extrude this. So the hands are pretty complicated structures, right? So we have to be pretty careful about how they're all extruded and stuff. I think what might work is something like this. I've done hands like this before. I always like forget how I did them the last time I've done them, which is not good. There we go. Let's keep this one in. What I would ideally like, so you see this this line here. I would ideally like to have this sort of bisect the whole arm. So whatever's above that line is the top of the arm. Whatever's below that line is the bottom of the arm. That way we can get some pretty clean UVs. And that line would run through the whole hand as well. So when we unwrap this guy, you would kind of see like a mitten shape on the UV islands. That's usually how I like to try and get that to resolve. So I have to kind of position these strategically before I extrude them. Make sure I'm getting the right amount on each side. Rumble. How close would you say you are to Purussaurus being complete? I would say a little under halfway. Just for my part. That doesn't include like what happens after me, you know? All the animation and figuring out the gameplay systems and implementing all that stuff. That's not something I do, so that's additional time. So I can't really estimate that. So we have, let's see, this is kind of what I want. Good week. Got new glasses so I can actually see. I actually went in for an eye exam last week. The Friday before our last stream, I went in. I could potentially get some new glasses too. My prescription didn't change very much. But I'm considering getting LASIK. So I might schedule a consultation soon and see if I'm a good candidate for that. I don't know if I actually am. The last eye doctor that I talked to said that it would actually help me a lot. But then I talked to this newer guy that I went to see last week, and he was like kind of on the fence about it. So I don't know. We'll see if it actually is a possibility. And it's a little bit scary, I'll admit, having surgery on your eyes. So I am kind of nervous about that. I don't know if any of you guys have had that procedure done. How did it go, if you did? You heard that LASIK hurts. Oh no. Okay, so your dad had really good success with it. He had the surgery 25 years ago. My cousin had it done. They both had it done like decades ago. Okay. 2000 moved back to the States. Okay, cool. Nice. See that? That's encouraging. I mean, I don't like the idea of pain, of course. But I'm pretty sure, I don't know. I'm hoping they would like numb me up, right? I know it's not like they don't knock you completely out. At least that's not what I've seen. They just kind of use like a local anesthetic. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm hoping that I'm actually a good candidate for it and that I can actually go through with it if possible. Because it would be nice not to have to rely on glasses all the time. I've had glasses since I was pretty young. For a lot of the time, I was kind of self-conscious about them. So in school, I had never used to wear them, and I used to like have to sit in the front of the classroom all the time and like squint at the chalkboard or the dry erase board, whatever they were using. So that was not good. But eventually I just stopped caring about like being self-conscious about it, I guess. I don't really care anymore. You gotta see. Seeing is important. So you can see his hand is like super, super weird now. We'll get it going here in a second. Just gotta place all this stuff. So now I should be able to add loops. Yeah, and it doesn't interrupt stuff. So we'll see how it ends up resolving. You see it's much more detailed here already. It's just a lot of stuff going on there, right? Like there's a lot of detail. Generally, even with low polys, you're gonna get a lot more density in the face, in the hands and feet than any place else. So you kind of just expect it to be that way. Need to make sure that I'm accommodating for bending and stuff too in the animation. Rumble. Let's see. Oh, I hear it's a lot cheaper than it used to be. That's what I hear too. I hope it doesn't like break the bank or anything. I think I have enough saved up to deal with it though. I don't know if my insurance is gonna cover it, any part of it, which is always a bummer. But we'll see. A good investment overall. You'd spend a lot more buying new glasses. That is true. I think my last pair of glasses cost me like $600 or something like that. At least this pair that I'm currently wearing. I think the thing that I look forward to most, like if I did get LASIK, is just being able to like lay down and watch TV without like being completely worried about ruining my glasses, you know, like bending the frame and stuff like that. I always worry about that stuff, and it makes me kind of uncomfortable when I lay down. Because it's a really, a really expensive little piece of headgear that you're kind of ruining, or you have a chance of ruining just because you got tired and you wanted to watch TV. I'm really nearsighted, and I did the same thing in school. Didn't wear them, but now I forget to take them off most of the. Yeah, it's funny how I mean, I don't notice them, well, you know, majority of the time. The only time I notice them is when they get like smudgy on the glass and I have to clean them. Times are changing. Apparently there is an eye drop that improved vision, but it's still being tested. Oh, really? They tested these eye drops on old mice, which notoriously have poor vision, and gave them vision as if they're young again. Oh, wow. It'd be cool. Did they have that? Did they publish that in like some sort of study? Some sort of paper? All right, what's going on here? Yeah, I have astigmatism in both eyes, which basically means that my cornea is like shaped differently. It's not like, it doesn't refract the light like perfectly like a normal person would. But I think that's part of LASIK is like reshaping the cornea or like changing the curvature. So I think I should be okay, but who knows? I'm not a doctor, you know, so. The doctor I saw last week also said that there's another procedure that like where they place artificial lenses. There's like a hybrid procedure between LASIK and this like other one where they place an artificial lens inside the eye. That one makes me a little bit nervous. I don't think I would go for that. Because the reshaping of the cornea is already kind of scary, but at least it's all like, it's your own tissue, right? And it can heal and like, I don't know, maybe I should do some more research on the procedure, but it just feels like having something kind of like artificial in something as sensitive as your eye would be more risky, I think. And it's a newer procedure, so I don't know. I feel like LASIK's been around for a while and seems like it's more or less routine. So I'd be more comfortable doing that. Nice, Rimble. Thank you. That'd be cool to read through. So I'm slowly kind of shaping this hand out of this mess of polys. Making sure that all of these little vertices are starting to stick to the mesh. We'll have to do a lot of like pushing and pulling and stuff. making sure everything is sticking to where it's supposed to stick. But yeah, this is kind of the process. I think one of the advantage, or I'm not, I don't know. There's a reason why I like this method is it's just because I get the whole thing fairly quickly, and then I can refine the little bits and parts of it, change edge flows and stuff. Where I think if you build it loop by loop, I don't know, it just feels like it takes a long time to get to where you need to be. What is the blue thing for in the model? What is a blue thing for in the model? Like this whole thing here, like the whole mesh, or are you talking about this little gizmo? This the mesh, the big blue mesh, is going to be the low poly for the in-game model. So this new guy, the like skin, the blue skin that I'm building is going to be what actually goes in game and what you see, what you play as. Just much more optimized, lower, much cheaper for the engine to run, you know. Oh, I don't have snapping on, so I need to turn that back on. Yeah, the big blue mesh is going to be the low poly. So in game, the models are much the actual like geometry of the model is much less dense than what the high poly would be. The high poly is made up of like millions and millions of polygons, and that's just too expensive for a game engine to deal with in terms of like animations and moving around and all that stuff. So we have to make these types of meshes. It's not gonna, of course, it's not gonna look like this. Like it's going to look much smoother, but it'll be considerably lower. Like I was talking about last stream. So at the end of the high resolution sculpting, like this in ZBrush, this model was, what did I say? It was like 50 to 60 million polys. So at the end of this, when we're done making this mesh here, it's going to be more like around 30,000. So it's a considerable like cut down in polygon count. The high poly is basically the source of your details. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to get, here, I'm going to open up something else for you guys so you can see the end result. Close to the end result. It'll help me explain stuff. Where is it? So this is the in-game version of the model for the Eocarcharia. I gotta, give me 1 second. I gotta switch out. So, where the heck? I gotta make sure I'm in the right UV. Object. Make sure I'm on the right material. This is all the craziness that we gotta do for. Okay, so ignore the weird stuff happening with the eyes, but basically, if you look at the mesh, see the mesh itself is pretty low. It's around, what is it? 24 polys, 24K polys. If I look at the detail though, it's pretty nicely detailed, but this detail isn't real. It's just an image that's being mapped over the low poly to provide the detail and to give the game engine like information to display the light on the model, all these bumps and stuff. That's all coming from texture maps. But the way we get the texture maps is we have to bake it from the high poly. So that's why we make a high poly, is to get all the detail in there. That's kind of the source of our detail, basically. You can think of it that way. And then we just wrap that detail on top of a low poly model. Yeah, exactly. Indie Ninja, that's exactly how it works. Digimorph, I was playing modded Skyrim with a reshade tool and I saw on a console that game runs 23 mil polys at one time. All the cells and meshes loaded in the game. And that's still like 1/3 of the croc. Yeah, yeah, that's exactly. You have that budget, you know, in the game. It's much more relaxed of a budget now that we have. Like, there's stuff like Nanite, and there's in Unreal Engine, and there's like dynamic. What would they call it in Nanite? And I think Nanite is actually doing that. So imagine you're a player standing in one spot on the map, right? All the stuff that's nearest you, that you can see pretty close to you, is going to be much higher density in polygons, and the game will dynamically scale that. So the further stuff goes away from you, the lower the polygon count goes. So the games can do that stuff. There's also stuff like LODs. Like usually in a game, like have you ever guys been like in an open world game and you see pop-in, like in the distance, you'll see like trees like change. You shouldn't be able to notice that ideally, but you still do in most games. That's because they're swapping out LODs. So they have multiple versions of that tree that are higher or lower depending on how close you are to the tree. So the further you are away, the lower that tree mesh is. And if you're really far away, sometimes that tree is only just like one polygon. That's just a flat image. And the closer you get, they swap it out. And they do that with models too, like in Monster Hunter Wilds, if you guys play that game, if you look at the monsters that are like off in the distance in the map, they're really low resolution. That's kind of where you get those origami looking monsters. If you've seen those memes online, they look like origami versions of the monsters, but those are the LODs didn't load right. So you're seeing the lowest LOD real up close. So yeah, it's a lot of stuff that goes into making one mesh. So you have the model itself, you have the textures that go on the model, you have like the hitboxes, you have the LODs, all the animations. Yeah, lots of stuff. There was I don't know if I still have it. I did like a breakdown of like everything that just goes into one mesh, and it's kind of overwhelming if you think about it all. That's why I try not to think about it all, because it's just a lot of stuff to get through, especially if you're doing it all yourself. Fortunately, you know, on Echoes we have a great team, so I'm just doing one part and then the team takes on the next part, you know, so I don't have to do it everything. But if you were to do everything on just one model, it's a lot of work. That's why it's so impressive to see, like, there's some games that have come out recently that are just like single devs just doing everything, which is insane. I don't know. Maybe one day I will have the time to try and make a game. Right now, I think I'm just happy doing models. Yeah, no problem, Indy. Rumble, you're talking about the Eo Calcarea? Yeah, I created that model too. That model's actually being animated right now. So I'm kind of done with it. I still have, there's some refinements that we're doing with the textures. But it's mostly out of my hands at this point. Trying to snap all these vertices to the right little area, but they're kind of, so one thing that we're going to end up doing on this is we're going to take this mesh back into ZBrush and just project it back onto the model, just to make sure that the mesh is like all in the right spot and corresponds to the ZBrush mesh like perfectly. Because I kind of don't like I don't like how Blender's reprojection stuff works sometimes. It's kind of wacky. It's a little bit fiddly. You can see I'm taking a good amount of time here trying to get these all on their spot. Almost done though. Hootbirds, you explain things in such an easy way for me to understand. Thanks, Hoot. I hope I'm making sense. It's helpful to me too, because I can kind of get my thoughts out there, you know, and explaining things out loud is it's a good way to kind of consolidate your thoughts and solidify like do I really understand what's going on? You know, just to kind of like check yourself a little bit. I think if you understand something truly, you can explain it. If you can't explain it in a concise way, I think at least to yourself, I understand there's, you know, not everyone's good at like getting up in front of a lot of people and explaining something. But if you can explain it to yourself in a simple way, I think it helps you understand stuff a lot better. So the other thing too is I used to want to be instructor, or at least like help teach ZBrush or like animal anatomy or like yeah, just different aspects of making creatures. I still want to at some point. I've had chances here and there to do that stuff, but not a ton. So there is a little bit of experience like teaching and explaining. I used to actually mentor when I started working in video games. I was actually kind of put in charge of the interns that were working with us. I was an intern, and then I got hired, and then I started helping the other interns with stuff. So there's that too. I kind of had to explain a lot of stuff to them about illustration and how to get a illustration done and different techniques you can use to get things done fast and stuff like that. So I guess over the years I've kind of accumulated a decent amount of experience showing people how to do things or explaining a concept. But thank you. That really, I'm glad it makes sense. Because this stuff is confusing. Yeah, it can be. I will say though, I don't notice it in Rainbow Six Siege, but it's not a huge map. It basically building, so I don't care if that's why. Yeah, I think it's more noticeable in games with huge draw distances. I think games that have a little bit more condensed maps don't experience it as much. There is some, they do try to optimize it more, you know, just to make the game run better. But there's not as much noticeable as a open world game, I would say. Like a game like God of War, or like what's that? Black Myth Wukong, where you're in like an enclosed environment and you're like running along designated paths, or even like the newer Final Fantasies, maybe not like Final Fantasy 16, Final Fantasy 7 remake, not Rebirth, because that's more open world. You notice it a little bit less in those types of games. It's not like if you really like look for it, I think you'll probably be able to find instances of it, but most people don't really mind. I don't mind the pop-in either, unless it's really unless it's really, really noticeable. It can definitely be immersion breaking. But generally I don't really care. Digimorph, would not a shrink wrap modifier help with the retypo, or is it doing some unwanted stuff? A shrink wrap modifier would. I can throw one on here. The reason why I don't have one on currently is because at a certain point I didn't have the arms and legs built in. So it was mapping to the wrong thing. Where is it? But it would help. The thing is, sometimes when I'm building this, see how it's like, it's still kind of, a lot of it's still kind of floating outside the edges of the mesh. When I add a shrink wrap modifier, some of the geometry is gonna, where the heck is it? Generate, is it deform? They reorganized this stuff, and now I like have to look for every little thing. Edit, generate, where is it? Subdivision surface. There he goes, shrink wrap. So I got this mesh going, and I want it to shrink wrap to this mesh. Yeah, it does weird. It does weird things. I got this because that's why. So because these meshes aren't the same mesh. They're individual meshes. The arms are separate from the body. I did do one thing earlier. Let me see. I added vertex groups, but at the time I didn't have the arms built out. So if I add these to a vertex group and then map those to the arms, I think that'll work. It'll get us some way there though. Let me see. Did I miss something out here? Got the stream 37 minutes late, but mind catching me up. Yeah, no worries. We're just continuing from last time. Just working on the low poly mesh, getting more. I'm working on the arms right now, getting all the fingers and stuff in there. Let me add this to a vertex group. That's good. Wait, did I actually assign it? Okay, so now if I go here, I think I need to add a new shrink wrap modifier. Shrink wrap. Yeah, we'll see how that works. Sometimes it helps me, sometimes it doesn't. That's it. That's the best I can say. It does. Sometimes it does like cool. You know, it does its job. It does what it's supposed to do, and sometimes it just ends up irritating me because I'm like fighting the mesh. You know. But I can always turn it off and turn it back on. It's mostly there. I think it's mostly doing its job. I'm just trying to... So when I'm moving... When you see me moving these points, a lot of the times it's just me trying to even... It's either me trying to represent, like snap to the surface and represent the underlying form a little bit better, or it's just me trying to get a little bit more even topology to, like, you know, spread it out evenly onto the shapes. Yeah, that's one thing that's annoying about Blender, is that when you add a loop with snapping on, it like freaks out. I could have some setting wrong, but I don't think so. I think it's supposed to be snapping to the right spot. That's why I kind of end up doing a little bit of manual manipulation, and then I can add a shrink wrap later to kind of finalize it, you know. Kivarstra, oof, I'm late. No worries. How are you doing lately? I'm doing pretty well. Yeah, I made a new vertex group for the arms to get the shrink wrap modifier to work a little bit. No, to actually recognize the arms as a target and not screw up the rest of the mesh. I think it'll become much more helpful later on when I have a lot more vertices and it can wrap to the mesh in a little bit more like detail. Because right now a lot of the points are hovering a good amount outside of the mesh, and there's pretty few of them, so I don't mind like kind of tapping each one and making sure it sits exactly where I want it to sit. Later on though, it will become pretty annoying and time consuming to get at each and every little vertex that I make in the right spot. So we will end up using a lot more of that stuff later. And just so you, let's see, someone said something about searching. Not gonna lie, it looked kind of funny when it was trying to shrink wrap to the empty space between the arms. Yeah, this stuff here. It's just because of the way that I built out the high poly. I did the arms separately. I could have merged them, but I'll deal with it right now. I think that's a good spot for the hands. I'm going to I'll extrude the nails, the claws, I mean. Sorry guys, if you guys are like, some of you are probably way more familiar with, like, I use Blender. I feel like I use Blender like an old man uses Blender. Like I don't like tap on, like, I don't know all the keyboard shortcuts. I don't know the like searching for stuff in the menu, all that stuff. I mean, I do know it's there, but I don't remember to use it some of the time. So if you guys see me doing like stuff like searching, just like searching through menus and stuff, I apologize, but it's kind of how I learned Blender. It's kind of the same thing that happens. Like if you notice my ZBrush, like if you notice other people use ZBrush, they have all these like crazy custom like UI and all these custom menus, and they have all custom shortcuts and custom. I don't have that. I learned how to use ZBrush like very bare bones, like vanilla ZBrush, default UI, default everything. So when I use ZBrush, it's default everything. I'm very, very much not fancy like that. So we got a little claw there. I need this claw here. Like one of the people I work with here in Echoes of Extinction is like a super Blender wizard. Really impressive the way that they navigate, and they just know a ton about Blender. So I would love to learn more about it, but I think I'm trying to think of like the percentage of time that I spend in Blender versus other programs. I don't know. I definitely spend the majority of my time in ZBrush. I think Blender, yeah, for retopology, UVs, rendering, that usually doesn't take up a ton of time. Okay. I don't want to get too crazy with the poly loops, the loops in here just yet. I think maybe I'm a little bit too going a little bit too far right now, but I think it looks okay. We can refine it later. I'm gonna move on to the leg. Nice, man. When are you finished with the when you are finished with the low poly? What will the next step be? Next step is UVs. So, I'll go to this mesh again. So the UVs, you can see my texture here on the right side. Maybe if I show a different texture, it makes more sense. Where is it? It doesn't show. So this is the skin texture, right? It's laid out flat on an image. What needs to happen is that if I go to my UVs, the geometry needs to be laid out flat as well in order to be like assigned, in order for the image to map to the geometry. So we have to tell Blender how we want those islands to lay flat. So you can see it kind of looks it looks a little funny, right? It's like, let me take off these pins. It's like you like slice up the model and you just flatten it out like a sheet of paper. So all of these islands correspond to this mesh here. You can see the lines on those red lines on the mesh. Those are where I've made cuts to separate the model up into these islands like this. So the whole model needs to have UVs like this in order to have textures assigned to them. So that's what we'll be doing afterwards. There are some considerations that I'm already putting into this mesh right now, because I want certain islands to be on their own. I want to be able to cleanly separate the islands. So for that reason, I'm putting poly loops in certain areas. So like this, like I want to be able to separate the head and neck cleanly from the body. So that's why I have a line here. And then I want to be able to divide the arm completely in half. So that's why I have this line going down the center here. So I'm thinking about multiple things while I'm doing the low poly. Primarily, I want to lower the poly count. I also want to be thinking about my UVs, how they're going to be laid out in the future. And I also want to be thinking about the animation to make sure that I'm giving enough loops in the right areas to provide the geometry that the animators need to move it around. And that's usually in the joints. Like you'll see later when we come around again to get more detail, I'm going to start adding much more loops to the joint areas here. There's other fancy stuff that you can do to get stuff to bend nicely when you're animating, and we might pull some of that in here. I'm not sure if we will though, if it's necessary or not. I did do it. I think I did it. Yeah, I did it. I did it here. Like if you look at the joints of the EO, see how there's a lot of loops around the joints where it needs to be. This bend here, how it's like radiating around the elbow and it's radiating around the wrist, the knee. That kind of stuff is what we might incorporate into the Puru. Kivarstra. Oh man, I'm always looking for ways to improve my workflow. Always looking for shortcuts. I was too. For a good amount of time there. But I mean, there's shortcuts and then there's familiarity. Like, I mean, I've been working with ZBrush for like the same way for over almost 10 years, a little over 10 years. So you kind of just get fast the more you repeat it. So shortcuts help, but they're not like... I think I could probably compete with somebody who knows a lot of shortcuts just because of the very fact that I've used it a lot, you know. And when you spread yourself, I don't know. I think hold on 1 second. Yeah, I mean, maybe I need to learn more shortcuts. I feel fine the way it is now, though. It would be just more just rewiring my brain, which wouldn't be bad. Okay, so how do I want to deal with this leg, this foot? Though as much as I know when it comes to blocking out, it looks kind of shite at first. It always does, yeah. I don't know. I don't think it's more scary when, like, at this phase. This phase now is when it starts to kind of resolve itself and start to actually look like the model, right? But when you're really primitive, like, this is like borderline. When you're really primitive, like we were last week, it's pretty scary because it's like, oh my god, what am I doing? Kind of just have to have faith, faith in your ability, and like trust your own process. So like, for those, maybe there might be a couple, maybe a few new faces here, but yeah. So eventually, this will be really smooth like this. Because at one point, the Eocarcharia, I wonder if I have an older version. At one point, the Eocarcharia mesh was like this, if you can believe it. So we'll get there. There's always that point in any creative process, I think, for everyone. I mean, that's what I've heard from many people, even like super experienced professionals, like people I look up to. They're like, yeah, sometimes my painting, sometimes my sculptures just kind of go through this awkwardness. Usually it's in a block outfit. For me, it usually happens after blockout phase, but before I really get into the refining part. Just gonna fudge this. Nudge this into place right here. So what I want to happen with this area of the mesh is I still want that division. So you see this line here. This is going to be a UV cut. And this all around here is going to be a UV cut. All through inside that inner area. But then the foot, I want to be separate. So I think I'm going to make a cut around the ankle. And then I will cut the sole of the foot away from the top of the foot. Kivarsha, I hate UVs. Always hard to make them super straight for me. Oh, you're working primarily like hard surface, right? Yeah, that would be hard surface stuff. I've never UV'd. That seems like really hard. I don't envy you on there. I should try it at least once though. Let's see. Digimorph. Is it one material for each model, or are some islands attached to different slot? Like in the Eocarcharia? So this, in the case, it depends. You can do different materials to, like, on the same mesh. I don't usually see that happening a ton on organic meshes like this though. For the Eocarcharia, this part of the mesh, the body and all these little spikes up here are on one material. So this is all one material. And then there's a separate material for the teeth and then separate material for the eyes. I think that's all. There's just 3 materials on this mesh. Yeah, 3. You could divide it the way you're describing. I think you would need a very specific instance of that though, like a very specific reason why you would want to do that. I can't really think of one off the top of my head right now. But it's possible. It's not. Okay, this is going to be a little bit tricky. I have to figure out how I'm going to get these toes out of this surface here. Okay, how do we want to do this? I could make a cut here. How does that work? What does that do? So it sends all the way down the body. If I make a cut here, it sends it all the way down. I don't really want that. I'll have to mold that over just a second. Indie Ninja. Do you have any advice on where to go to learn more about Blender modeling like this, or other than the donut challenge? I'm trying to think of where I learned Blender from. Blender Guru guy is pretty good, I think. He's more, I'd say is he the one who does the donut challenge? He might be the one that does the donut challenge thing. He's more like for rendering though. I'm trying to think who's good for just modeling in general. I don't think I went to just one person. I kind of just bounced around from a bunch of different tutorials. It really depends on what exactly like there, it wasn't like all in one. Like I never went to like a Blender 101 tutorial or anything like that. It was more like, okay, what am I doing in Blender? Well, I'm UVing stuff. How do I UV? So I would go and like search what to do in that specific area, and I would learn from whoever. You know, usually it's kind of random. Like I just picked like the first person that seemed like they knew what they were talking about, and started to figure it out. If it were ZBrush, it would be a different story, because I know a lot of people who do really good ZBrush, like 101 tutorials, like overall stuff. But for Blender, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to give you a direct like source. Those flip normal guys seem to do a good job. Who else? Thinking. Yeah, I would maybe start there. They seem to have like more of a like a beginner sort of friendly like focus, I guess you would call it. So maybe you can start there and like see if there's anything there that can help you out. I know what I'm gonna do. I think I know what I'm gonna do here. Let's see. Do something like this. So then we get 4 faces here. It's basically the same thing that we did with the front arm. So we have 4 faces to extrude these toes from. Okay, let's see. Kivarstra, absolutely. A lot of it you need to roll up your sleeves and hash out, but making repetitive things faster makes the work finish faster. Agreed, yeah, for sure. Love this low poly take on this model. It's complete opposite. I do I do low poly first, then high poly, but I could just be because I use different. No, I do that too. I do both. It depends on how I'm feeling, honestly. Like I am one of those guys that gets kind of bored with the same process over and over again. So sometimes I'll start like how did we start the Puru, if I remember right? We just started from a box in ZBrush and like we dynameshed it, and I was like pulling and pushing stuff out. Sometimes I just start from a sphere. Sometimes I use Z spheres to build the whole body and then block out. Sometimes I do the base mesh stuff in Blender first and then I take it to ZBrush. It's kind of it's variety for me. Like I personally have to have like I have to be learning something new, or I have to be like using a different, method just to keep myself a little bit more interested, I guess. There are definitely like workflows, like if I'm slammed, like say there's like a client and they need something very high quality and they need it fast. There are like go-to workflows that I know 100% that I can rely on, and I'll go to those workflows if I have a situation like that where I just need something super reliable, get it done, get it out quick, that kind of stuff. But if I have time to like kind of, actually be creative, I will decide I'll pick from a number of different methods and work that way, I have the same habit when I'm painting. Like sometimes I'll start with a grayscale and work to color. Sometimes I'll go straight into color. Sometimes I'll work a lot on the drawing and then only do like flats with like shading layers on top. There's so many different workflows that I've learned over the years. And I just bounce around a lot. Mix and match. So will these boxy meshes work as distant render model while also having increased topology for close-ups? It could. I'm not sure exactly how that's being handled in the game right now. Honestly, I think Unreal Engine has its own like auto-generated LODs, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't think we're worrying about that as much right now. If this was maybe like a few years ago, that would be a problem. I would definitely you would end up making like 3 different versions of your mesh. Like there was a while ago, back in 2015, I was doing some plants for like a game level that I was working on. And even for the plants, you had to make like 3 different levels of LODs. You had one that was super like blocky, super basic. And then you had like an in-between, and then you had a higher poly. Even though it wasn't really a high poly, it was still pretty basic, but much higher poly than the planes that we were working on. So yeah, you basically had like 3 models in one that you had to deal with. Usually the workflow would be to do the most complicated one and then just reduce the poly count. Like you would make the whole thing, get it as dense as you need it to, and then you would just select loops and delete them to get the poly count lower. But I think, like I said, I think Unreal does that on its own now. There might be some like parameters you can change in Engine to like decide how many polys you want in something. But I think it's mostly automated at this point. Which is nice, because doing LODs is kind of a pain. that's one aspect of the process that I don't mind being automated. Digimorph hard surface UVs are job for Blender Smart UV unwrap command. Specific reason would be maybe more texture detail while keeping the same resolution. Oh, you're talking about the different material slots. I could see that, yeah. You could have like a separate material with a separate texture on a certain region of the body that needs more image, more like image resolution. Maybe that could work. Yeah. So I'm extruding the toes first, and then I'm gonna bridge the webbing inside. You guys were wondering about the webbing. Give me 1 second. Honestly, I kind of like when it's like this too. Like there's something about the super like boxiness of it that I appreciate, because it lets me like see it lets me see the essential parts of the the form, I guess. It's kind of like when you do a sculpture and you do like, have you guys seen those like planar versions of like human sculptures? Let me see. They usually we had to do this stuff a lot when we were practicing drawing people. You just like you do the planes of the face kind of stuff like this. That's kind of what it reminds me of. You're kind of like getting down to the bare bones of what the thing you're doing is. You're able to see it much nicer. Kind of what it reminds me of. I'm not gonna do that cut just yet. We're gonna make some primitive claws here. That one doesn't need a claw. This one needs a claw. Put that in here. Bouncing around is better if you want to learn as much as you can. Yeah, I think that's part of it. When I was first starting out, especially in college, I was looking at a ton of. This was when I was primarily a painter, not a sculptor. When I was first starting out in college, I was looking at a ton of tutorials online, lots of painting process, different videos on, like from Gnomon Workshop and stuff, because the library at the school that I went to, excuse me, library at the school that I went to had some of those available in the to check out and stuff. So I was watching those and like following along with a lot of them. So from there, I kind of picked up multiple different types of workflows from different people. And then I was just kind of building it up. Like I would constantly look for stuff. And then eventually I would like start mixing and matching workflows and like going in between them. And then there's some stuff that I've kind of, I guess, kind of made up myself. Different ways of dealing with certain things, different ways of thinking about certain problems. And yeah, it's all just kind of stuck with me over the years. It's gotten to a point though where I don't really, it's not that I don't want to learn, it's just that I feel kind of comfortable. I feel secure, in where I am. Like I have a number of processes that I know how to do to tackle different problems. So I'm fairly confident, like when it comes to like if I get a painting from a client and they have a very specific idea, I'm pretty confident that at least one of those solutions will work for that painting, I feel like I have the bases kind of covered. So I don't really like watch tutorials too much anymore. Unless it's for something extremely specific, like the majority of the tutorials that I watch are more focused on like game production, like stuff like with Blender, like more technical stuff, like how do you get this texture to behave the way you need it to, or like there's usually it's like troubleshooting, honestly, like something will break in the scene that I'm working on, like texture won't display the way it's supposed to, UVs won't appear when where they're supposed to, stuff like that, and I gotta go and like troubleshoot it and figure out what's wrong, and then I'll learn stuff through that, but it's not necessarily like process stuff anymore. I've actually, in terms of like process, I've actually started to look more towards traditional media for ideas about process. Like traditional painting and traditional sculpture. It's almost like revisiting like the roots kind of thing. More for like I guess theory around like building forms, different ways to build forms, being more expressive with shapes and mark making and stuff like that. It's a little bit more like artsy kind of stuff, not necessarily stuff that would be super applicable in more commercial setting, but it's interesting. Indie Ninja, I would love to try ZBrush, but I can't afford to buy the software. Yeah, I mean, have you tried Blender? Did you try sculpting in Blender yet? I mean, it's getting pretty. You can do a lot of stuff, that ZBrush can. Some stuff that ZBrush can't. I've been tempted. Well, I should try it. I've been wanting to try it for a while. Do like a whole sculpt in Blender. Maybe I have a bunch of other projects personal projects that I could try that out on. Excuse me. Do you think Echoes of Extinction would look more realistic than GTA? I mean, that's a AAA studio. I honestly don't know. Do you guys know what GTA, it's their own engine, right? I don't know what engine GTA runs on. It looks like they're doing some pretty crazy stuff in GTA, the newer one. Like I saw like a brief analysis of some, like a breakdown of the cinematics that are like the brief like trailers that we've gotten so far. People analyzing like the textures, the effects, and like kind of breaking down what we can expect from the visuals of the game. But yeah, I don't know. I think our game will look really good. It would be hard to say. Rage engine, modified version of Unreal. Oh, really? I didn't know that. Okay. Rage technology. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the engine would be capable of. Let me see if some screenshots. Because there's like each engine, it depends on what their goal is. Like there's certain engines that prioritize certain things, like engines that prioritize lighting, like getting like crazy like lighting, volumetrics, fluid dynamics, deformation in like there's a new game coming out from it's the guys that made Mud Runner. Can't remember the name of the studio, but they do a lot of stuff with deformation and like soil. So it kind of really depends about the needs of the game. The GTA is crazy because you're simulating like almost a full city, you know, a full world. So you kind of have to have an engine that does it all, which is also like a kind of an impossible, not impossible, but like it's a big ask. Inevitably, the engine is going to be bad at something. It's just, what is it, you know? And I don't know what that is. I don't know enough about their engine to say. Even though I played GTA 5, I think I played every GTA that's come out since San Andreas 4, 5, and then would be 6. I don't know if I'm going to play 6 though. The only reason I played GTA 5 is because it had those heist things that I could play with my friends that were pretty funny. Otherwise I didn't play through like the story or anything. Even though the characters in GTA always tend to be pretty good. They're definitely they're unique. And they end up being kind of pretty memorable generally. The main question is, what do we get first, EOE Beta or GTA 6? Well, we have We have a year, right, since they delayed GTA 6. Okay, so AI. Yeah, it would make sense that AI is a big component of that. All of the like NPCs walking around and stuff, you want to make sure that it feels like a real city and they like react to all the crazy stuff you're doing. That would make sense. I'm trying to get this webbing in here. So you see this? See these polys here? What I'm gonna do is inset those. And then I can scale that just a little bit. And then I'm gonna bridge them across each other. But I don't want any weird interior polys to happen. Let's see. I'm going to delete these faces, I think. If I delete the face, will it? Yeah, okay. Let's see. I'm going to start building this surface here. I think that is okay. This needs to be down. Then I will take this. This needs to go down further though. That way I'm making sure I capture this area. Something like that. I don't know how much their updated version of Rage Engine. Don't know much about their updated version of Rage Engine. So I should try to have Rage Engine match the latest version of Unreal Engine. Rage Engine was made back when GTA 4 was being made and released. Oh, okay. If I remember correctly, the team for modeling out the map, pathfinding, had a really hard time trying to get the game to not crash. Ah, okay. So AI navigation. Oh, this is what I need to do. I need to make sure that there's a edge here. Center. Nope. I need to merge these. Okay. these need to slide down. So we got one little webbing right there. And then we need one here. So it's gonna be these polys, it seems like. These ones. I think maybe I could do this, maybe. Can I do this? I don't know if I like that solution more or less than the other one. I think I'd rather just bridge them. I know I've done this before, so I'll just do with what I'm familiar with. Yeah, I don't know how the other way would react. It'd probably be fine. That's a triangle, though. Just make a cut here. Try to do like a little mini version of what I have going on here. Indie Ninja, do you find the gimbal getting in your way when doing small movements like this? Not really. No, I don't think so. I don't think it's ever bothered me really very much. Maybe certain instances. There's probably a way to adjust it. I don't know where that is though. Probably in here someplace. One of these. There, I know there's a way to change the. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there's probably a way to do it. There's a way to change almost everything in here. But yeah, it hasn't really bothered me. I think you can turn it off. Maybe let's see. Yeah, you can turn it off. Or you can at least change what it's. I mean, that would be kind of crazy. I think this is nicer for what I'm doing right now. It's a little bit simpler. I do use that other one when I'm posing stuff though. Though despite that, even after the game release, there are still tons of bugs. Never got fixed. Swing set glitch. You drive a car into a specific swing set, it sends you and the car flying across the map. I think I might have seen some videos of that. And that never happened to me. I'm trying to think if there are some glitches that I encountered. We didn't encounter many, I don't think. Okay, so the foot here is shaping up okay, I believe. That's kind of a weird edge flow, though. I don't really like. It's kind of hard because this is asymmetrical, though. If I could get this to go across just the upper knuckle area here, that would be nice. I gotta think about that for a little bit. I think if I just make a cut. Because it's this that's causing the issue. If I carry that over here. I think let me just connect these. And that will control that flow there. I think everything about this is I think. I believe that will work. See if it actually does later on. I've actually done a lot of like webbed crocodilian-ish feet lately for different things. Oh, I forgot this. That would be bad. Make sure I got the underside. Okay. Okay. It's not too bad, not too bad. I think what's going to end up happening though is I need to let me see what happens here. If I do a cut here, that happens. But I think I will eventually need a cut going up the vertical part of the toe, but I'm going to probably have to, I don't want it to go down the rest of the body like that. So I'm going to have to merge it somewhere up here on the surface of the foot or up of the leg. I don't know if I want it to go up the leg though. It's probably going to be here on the foot someplace. I just have to find a spot to maybe here on the edge here. We'll figure it out. I'm going to add some cuts here though. Start rounding out the leg. Oh, with the T-Rex. T-Rex side by side. I think they're about the same length, maybe. I think Purussaurus is 12 meters long. Can't remember off the top of my head how long a T-Rex is. Let's see what the internet says. 12.35 meters. 12 to 13 looks like. But I suppose it depends on which specimen you're looking at. There's a comparison of a T-Rex and a Deinosuchus. And Peru would be fairly similar to Dino. But yeah, it would be cool to see it lined up with something actually in the scene. Last stream, I think it was last stream, I pulled the Eocarcharia in here and we scaled them to each other. It was pretty interesting how big they are compared to one another. Yeah, I think you've found. I think your estimates would probably be pretty on point. Okay. Cool. So he's starting to shape up. We got his legs in there. Got all the webbing. It's got his front legs. I think we can work on more details of the head. I'm gonna add his eyes in right now. Let's see. I wonder why it's being bogged down. It's kind of chugging a little bit. I don't know why. No. That's probably why. I wonder what I did there. It's because it's snapping to the surface. You don't want that. There we go. Actually, what am I doing? I have eyes in here. These eyes. These eyes. Okay. They are not okay. Those are not the eyes I need. I need low poly eyes. So I'm going to add eyes in here like I was going to do anyway. Let's turn off. There we go. This will sit here somewhere. Just add we actually only need half of this, but I'm not going to separate that later. I won't separate that till later. I mean, add modifier. Mirror that over. Okay. Okay. I think that's about where we're going to end it today. We're going to start getting into... So I'm going to do more details on the face. So getting things all represented, like the nose, the tongue needs to be represented. Just getting a little bit more specific here. And then what we're going to have to start doing is we're going to start doing all of these little... all of these got to be represented somehow in the mesh. So we got to figure that out. It's going to be interesting. All of these osteoderms here, these big ones that protrude, need to be accounted for, or else the mesh won't look correct. So we're going to start getting into that. That's going to be probably the most time-consuming aspect of the whole thing. Yeah, just more real quickly before I head out. We are actually going to start adding in another stream during the week. So I'm going to be streaming on Wednesday of this coming week at 6 p.m. PST. So from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. I'll be streaming. And it's not going to be the Peru. It's going to actually be, we're going to be working on the Tyrannosaurus textures. So you're going to see a much different part of the process, something that we'll eventually do for the Peru, but we just aren't there yet. So yeah, I'll be starting a new skin pattern, something that one of our concept artists has done. So if you guys are interested in seeing that, definitely stop on by. Would love to see you guys there. We'll make an announcement about it, and I'll get a link in the Discord going. I'll try and get that up a bit early so that people have a chance to get notified and stuff about it. Yes, 2 streams a week, Saturday and Wednesday. Yep. And that Wednesday stream might be kind of like, I don't know, it might be like our like variety stream or something like that. It's just gonna be like, I think what we're gonna start with the Orano textures. We might be working on the Orano for a little bit, but that's not gonna be for too long. And then we'll see what we slot in there, like what else we can work in there. But it's gonna be different from this stream that's focused on the Peru. So we'll see what we got. But it might be like different, we'll try and mix it up there. But yeah. Thanks guys. Thanks for coming into the stream. Thanks for checking everything out. Hope you have a great weekend. And yeah, I'll see you. Hope you guys are able to join Wednesday, but if not, I'll see you some other time. Okay. Maybe next Saturday. Thanks everyone. Bye.